Impact Investing International sponsors the Sky News Financial Report.
Him in his day job as cameras followed him during National Air Ambulance Week. And Sky's royal correspondent, Rhiannon Mills, has this report.
Prince William has been reluctant in the past to let the cameras in to see what he does for the day job and look around his office. It seems quite a natural.
That's what this aircraft brings, is bringing a critical care paramedic and a critical care doctor to the scene a lot faster than you could possibly do by road or by any other means. And it's effectively bringing the hospital to the casualty by the road within that golden hour.
His decision to allow a film crew to follow him is unusual, part of a week of national events raising awareness of the work carried out by air ambulance pilots and medics. He leaves you in no doubt he wants his workmates to be the focus for a change.
You have to have a bit of banter and be able to laugh at yourself. Without that, I think it all becomes a bit too serious and a bit too stressful.
The shift work is still it's exciting and it's challenging for its variety more than anything, and the fact that I love working in a team, and that's something that my other job doesn't necessarily do. I'm sort of you're more out there on your own a little bit, but I very much enjoy working with the likes of James and the team, and it's good fun.
That's the nicest thing you've ever said.
You're only going to get that once.
The other job is those royal duties. It can be a difficult balance between the two roles, and one that has led to claims he's work shy. But hear about what he's seen, and it's clear the job has had a big impact.
I think my most challenging one was to do with burns. There's one job in particular that was really quite nasty, and I don't know how the medical crew dealt with it either, because they came to the rescue and did everything they can. Sadly, the casualty was beyond help.
The team behind the project have called it Inside the Trauma Team, where Prince William is a pilot. He probably won't be entirely happy at being held up as a poster boy. After all, this isn't all about him, but the ability of his team to save lives. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News.
And it's time for a look at the weather forecast now.
As a warm day ends in Africa. Delicious aroma.
Mostly dry but a bit cloudy for the rest of the afternoon. The best of the sunshine will be in northern Scotland and the Midlands. A few showers may affect southeast and eastern England in the evening, and it will be cloudier for Ireland with some patchy light rain around. Most parts dry overnight though. A few showers will continue near southern and eastern coasts. Patchy rain will affect the Hebrides and Western Ireland on a strengthening wind. It'll be chilly under clear skies with some mist and fog around, and a mix of warm sunny spells and a few scattered showers for much of Britain tomorrow.
The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Still to come on Sky News.
Debate and discussion with Sky News at 2. Our top stories. The UN suspends all aid convoys in Syria after its lorries are attacked in a deadly airstrike near Aleppo. We're live in New York as world leaders meet for urgent talks on the country's crisis. Twitter trouble for Trump Jr. as the White House hopeful son compares Syrian refugees to Skittles. Labour's ruling body meets over proposals to elect shadow cabinet appointments in a bid to reunite the party. Whilst Lib Dem leader Tim Farron prepares to address his party at their annual conference in Brighton. Also today, surgery breakthrough as scientists restore movement to the severed spines of animals. And a heroic return to home soil as Britain's Paralympians bring back their record medal haul. Good afternoon. The United Nations has suspended all aid convoys in Syria after at least 18 trucks carrying supplies into Aleppo were bombed last night. It's being reported that 20 people lost their lives in the attack, which happened as a week-old ceasefire collapsed. The organisation said it could amount to a war crime, describing it as a very dark day for aid agencies around the world.
As an immediate security measure, other convoy movements in Syria have been suspended for the time being, pending further assessment of the security situation. However, we remain committed to stay and deliver to everybody in need in Syria.
At the UN in Geneva, a statement was also read out on behalf of the President of the International Committee of the Red Cross.
Yesterday's attack is a flagrant violation of the international humanitarian law and it is unacceptable. Failing to protect humanitarian workers and structures might have serious repercussions on ongoing humanitarian operation in the country, hence depriving millions of people from aid essential to their survival.
So, how did the ceasefire in Syria break down? Well, the truce that was brokered by the United States and Russia came into force at sunset just over a week ago. For the next few days, Syrians enjoyed a ceasefire of hostilities, but the UN was prevented from delivering aid to besieged areas because of security concerns. Both rebel fighters and government forces accused each other of breaching the ceasefire. Then on Saturday, the US-led coalition, with the involvement of British aircraft, carried out a series of airstrikes against IS positions and mistakenly killed around 60 Syrian soldiers on a base near Deir az-Zor airport. Well, yesterday, the Syrian military declared the truce over. Moscow said it was senseless for the regime to respect the ceasefire unilaterally. Last night, a UN aid convoy carrying supplies into Aleppo was bombed, reportedly killing around 20 people. Both Russia and the Syrian government deny carrying out that airstrike. Let's go live now to New York, where the UN are meeting to discuss this crisis. Now, Foreign Affairs Editor Sam Kiley is there for us. And Sam, where does all of this activity leave the situation in Syria right now?
Well, very tense talks indeed going on right now in the what's called the Syrian Contact Group. They've met at 7:30 local time, the first thing by coincidence on the whole agenda. And really this boils down to a very high-level standoff, really, between the United States and Russia. Russia, of course, backing the Damascus regime, denying, though, any role in this latest atrocity with the bombing of the Red Cross and UN convoy, and the United States backing some rebels within the Syrian civil war, and of course the Kurds. Now, until there is some kind of an agreement, particularly from the Russians, to get the Damascus regime to cease its hostilities against the rebel groups, there is no prospect of that ceasefire ever being revitalized. But part of the problem here is that when they negotiated the original ceasefire just over a week ago, it was accepted that the organization that was known as the Nusra Front, it's since rebranded itself, but that is the Al-Qaeda affiliate inside Syria, that was still considered fair game by all sides. And it, as an organization, is deeply interwoven with other rebel groups fighting against the Assad regime, thereby almost in perpetuity providing an opportunity for the Assad regime and all the Russians to continue airstrikes against rebels on the basis that some of them at least are affiliated with Al-Qaeda. That goes back really to the root of how this ceasefire was allowed to break down in the spectacular way that it did. But nonetheless, I think that it is most certainly dead now. The UN Security Council meets in earnest tomorrow morning, where I think we can anticipate more genuine fireworks at a diplomatic level between Russia and the United States.
Okay, Sam, we'll leave it there. Thank you. Donald Trump Jr. has caused controversy after likening Syrian refugees to poisoned Skittle sweets in a post on Twitter. The son of presidential candidate Donald Trump suggested that America shouldn't accept any Syrian refugees due to the risks they posed. He wrote this: "This image says it all. Let's end the politically correct agenda that doesn't put America first." Well, in response, the manufacturers of Skittles distanced themselves from the controversial remark. Wrigley's America released this statement saying Skittles are candy, refugees are people. We don't feel it's an appropriate analogy. We will respectfully refrain from further commentary as anything we say could be misinterpreted as marketing. Well, let's go live now to New York. Ban Ki-moon is speaking at that UN meeting of world leaders. The Syrian crisis top of the agenda there. Let's listen in to what he's saying at the moment.
Yet, after 10 years in office, I'm more convinced than ever that we have the power to end the war, poverty, and persecution. We have the means to prevent conflict. We have the potential to close the gap between rich and poor and to make rights real in people's lives. Excellencies, with the Sustainable Development Goals, we have a manifesto for a better future. With the Paris Agreement on climate change, we are tackling the defining challenge of our time. We have no time to lose. I urge you, leaders, to bring the Paris Agreement into force before the end of this year. We need just 26 countries more, representing just 15% of greenhouse gas emissions. I ask you to help lead us to a world of low carbon growth, increased resilience, and greater opportunity and well-being for our children. Excellencies, distinguished heads of state and government, these great gains are threatened by grave security threats. Armed conflicts have grown more protracted and complex. Governance failures have pushed societies past the brink. Radicalization has threatened social cohesion, precisely the response that violent extremists seek and welcome. The tragic consequences are on brutal display from Yemen to Libya and Iraq, from Afghanistan to the Sahel and the Lake Chad Basin. In today's world, the conflict in Syria is taking the greatest number of lives and sowing the widest instability. There is no military solution. Many groups have killed many innocents, but none more so than the government of Syria, which continues to barrel bomb neighborhoods and systematically torture thousands of detainees. Powerful patrons that keep feeding the war machine also have blood on their hands. Present in this hall today.
Ban Ki-moon, the UN Secretary General there, speaking in New York, referencing Syria, which is leading our news agenda today after the collapse of that week-long ceasefire and those aid trucks attacked by airstrikes. We are expecting to hear from the US President Barack Obama at 3:30 our time this afternoon from the United Nations building there in New York. We'll bring you that live here on Sky News. Labour's ruling body is meeting right now to decide how the shadow cabinet should be chosen. It's considering proposals that would allow Labour MPs to pick the party's front bench team.